The ZH-29 is a Czechoslovakia-made, medium long-range focused SLR for the Scout class in Battlefield 5. For those who just want the quick rundown, the ZH-29 is one of the best medium long-range weapons in the game, offering consistent damage and accurate fire at relative ease of use for anybody with some decent aim. It provides the Scout class with a slightly different playstyle option while still remaining true to the class in its current form and how you know and love to play it, while also heavily promoting the class role as intelligence gatherer for the team. For those who want a little more detail, in today's weapon review, we're going to be talking about the stats of the ZH-29, the specializations available and that I would recommend for the weapon, how it compares to some of the competition out there, and how to get the most out of it when using it on the battlefield. And thus, jumping straight into it, with a maximum damage of 54 and a minimum damage of 52, you have an all-range 2-shot body shot kill with this weapon and a fire rate of 149 rounds per minute, somewhat to compensate for the ridiculously high damage of the weapon. The magazine size is relatively limited at only 6 shots available, and the reload times, depending on whether you actually go for the mag reload specializations, are actually quite long and quite complicated given that you reload individual bullets and strip clips, with the shortest reload being 2.26 seconds, which each additional bullet costing you another 0.56 seconds, and if you go through all your bullets you're looking at 3 seconds plus 0.56 for each additional bullet. That's not taking into account stripper clips, and that's not taking into account that previously mentioned specialization, which brings down your mag reloads to 2.95 seconds or 4.55 respectively for the short and long reloads. In terms of recoil, with this being a semi-automatic, it's quite high with 2 vertical. What I would like to note though is, as with any weapon in Battlefield 5, the vertical recoil is significantly decreased by going either prone or crouching, with those values respectively falling to 1.5 for when crouching and 1.2 when going prone. No horizontal to deal with as with all SLRs, and relatively good accuracy values, at least when standing still and aiming down sight with a minimum spread of 0.05. When doing the same but moving simultaneously, you're looking at a minimum spread of 0.4, and if you choose to, for whatever reason, hipfire this weapon, you're going to have to deal with a minimum spread of 4.5. In terms of specializations, your choices are between firstly the high velocity bullets giving you a 10% increase to the muzzle velocity of this weapon, or quick aim for 33% faster aiming down sight times. Then if you go down the left hand side, you're looking at slings and swivels giving you those 15% faster switching between your primary and secondary weapon, followed by trigger drop, increasing the fire rate of this weapon from the previously mentioned 149 rounds per minute to a little bit higher 164 rounds per minute. If you go down the right hand side, you'll get the previously mentioned detachable magazine, after which you'll get the improved accuracy upgrade while aiming down sight. And then lastly, you have a choice between recoil buffer, decreasing the vertical recoil on this weapon by 20%, or a bipod if that's your type of playstyle. In terms of my personal preferences, for reasons that I'll outline a little bit later when we go into the comparative performance of this weapon, I go left, right, left essentially, going for the high velocity bullets, then the detachable magazine and improved accuracy upgrades, followed by the recoil buffer for that reduced vertical recoil. Speaking of that comparative performance then, of course the first weapon that we need to talk about is the Selbstlader 1906, which comes in remarkably similar in terms of the overall stats to the ZH-29. The only main differences really are between these weapons the fire rate that they have to begin with the previously mentioned 149 rounds per minute base fire rate for the ZH-29 being beaten out by the 164 of the Selbstlader 1906. On the other hand, the ZH-29 can of course be upgraded accordingly to match that fire rate of the Selbstlader. In terms of recoil, they are pretty much identically the same. The ZH-29 does have the advantage of having the option for a mag reload instead of just the single bullets and stripper clips, which is given for the Selbstlader 1906 and cannot be changed. Instead, however, you can get the light and stock upgrade for the Selbstlader 1906, which gives you 60% faster movement while aiming down sight. That is somewhat contrasted with the mag reload, which kind of defines where these two weapons are different in how they're orientated. While you can make the ZH-29 a carbon copy of the Selbstlader 1906, there will be a slight difference in mag capacity there, 6 versus 5 shots, but nothing that will make any practical difference on the actual battlefield. The more tactical move is to keep the Selbstlader 1906 as a slightly more aggressive version of the ZH-29 with a slightly higher fire rate and accuracy focused on moving and shooting at the same time to allow you to get those 5-10 meters closer in while comfortably still downing your enemies, whereas the ZH-29 focuses on the more medium long range of the SLR category of weaponry, going for accuracy, standing still, aiming down sight, and placing your shots accurately instead of just spam firing as fast as the weapon can fire. But it should be noted, if you like one of these weapons, no matter how you actually set them up, you likely will like the other because they are extraordinarily similar to each other. So when it comes to determining whether a weapon in terms of its damage output is truly competitive, I find one of the best ways to compare it is to the STG-44, a run-of-the-mill, good at almost everything weapon that will give you a rough idea of where the ZH-29 really shines, because in terms of raw damage, it's actually a quite impressive weapon. Sure, under 10 meters, the STG easily beats out the ZH-29, and up to 50 meters, where they both share similar time to kills, I'd still go for the STG-44. Not only can it take on far more enemies, it's also a lot easier to use, and a little bit of bad accuracy, missing a couple of shots, with a weapon that fires at 599 rounds per minute, fully automatic with a 30-round magazine, is a lot less detrimental than with a weapon with only 6 shots available, and a significantly slower fire rate, of course. After that, however, and 50 meters isn't exactly a long distance, the ZH-29 truly begins to shine because it far outclasses the STG in terms of its damage, and as such, of course, pretty much all of the automatic weapons that at those distances can successfully hit targets. The only real competitive weapons at those distances for weapons like the ZH-29 are of course the bolt action rifles if they hit a headshot, the MMGs if they're set up properly with their bipods, or the assault's semi-automatic. So pretty much all of the automatic weapons, if not set up in a bipod scenario, are clearly outclassed by the ZH-29. The caveat, of course, is you need to be an accurate player and you need to be able to place your shots on target even when they're moving, which can be a lot trickier for most players out there, including myself. But given the time investment, given a little bit of skill in terms of the aiming department, the ZH-29 is an absolute beast in terms of one-on-ones or one-on-twos for winning those firefights. So that leaves us lastly then with the playstyle and how to get the most out of this weapon when using it on the battlefield. The first tip I'd have for you is hold your distance, because this weapon is most definitely not ideal for sub 30, sub 40 meter engagement distances. You simply are going to struggle significantly with targets that are bobbing and weaving or AD-AD spamming, and you really don't want to go up against fully automatic weapons under, I'd say, 35 meters. That's just my personal experience. You want to hold your distance and you want to have a good position behind cover where you can pick off targets, preferably from a flanking position, so it's a little bit more difficult for the enemy to actually spot you. But once you do inevitably come into that close quarter scenario, whip out your spotting flare, whip out your revolver, and probably, honestly, you'll be quite fine. If you've got the accuracy to use the ZH-29, you have the accuracy to use the revolver in close quarters as well. I'd also always make sure that you prioritize the correct targets, and if you're looking for easy targets, go for those either not moving at all or those moving in a set direction, not constantly changing their course. That's just general advice for any kind of accuracy dependent shooting. And also, I'd try and stick just behind the friendly lines. Unless you're going for that previously mentioned flank, being essentially the backbone of a main push is extraordinarily beneficial, because not only will you be safe behind a couple of teammates which are taking the brunt of the heat in close quarters in front of you, you'll also not be the focal point of the enemy's attention, meaning you can pick and choose your targets as you wish, go for those that you most likely can take out, and provide your team actively with spotting support with the according spotting gadgets that the scout class has available for exactly those situations. That's how I found not only the weapon to be most effective in terms of just raw damage output, raw KD ratios, but also most enjoyable to play. It's much like some of the more medium long range focused LMGs for the support class, a weapon that is played very, very successfully and very effectively in a supporting role for the team. You can absolutely go Rambo if you find the right engagement distances on your own, but in my personal experience, it's best done with a little bit of team support, as typical for Battlefield 5. But that pretty much wraps it up for the ZH-29, so I'd love to hear your opinion on the weapon and your experiences with it. So leave those as well as of course your usual video suggestions down below in the comments, or hit me up with them on Twitter. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. But with all that being said, I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you in the next Battlefield 5 video.